Welcome to today's episode of the AARC Perspectives podcast. I'm Dan Garrett. I'm the Executive Director of AARC, and today I'm joined by our AARC President, Dana Evans.
Hi, good afternoon.
This is our first in a series of 2026 conversations with AARC leaders to discuss priorities, impacts, and the planning for the organization. And today we're going to discuss the new 2026-20 AARC strategic plan and what that entails, and really the importance of getting involved in committee and leadership work. So we're delighted to have Dana join today so we can kind of dig into that. So let's just jump right in. Dana, can you give our listeners and members some insights into what went into developing the strategic plan? I happen to be there, but I'm sure everybody would like to kind of know what went into the development of this and kind of what the areas of focus were.
Yeah, I'd love to. There's so much that goes in, as anyone that's ever built one knows, into the development of a strategic plan, right? If done well, there are so many stakeholders that you need to engage and really go into it, trying to understand what their needs and wants are to build a plan towards the future that supports them best. And that's exactly what we did, right? I'm really quite pleased and proud of the way this worked for us. But so we rolled out the strategic plan this year, but we started the work in the middle of 2024. It takes a long time. It's like as you know, Dan, it's like a runway into getting that done. But one of the first things we did was we looked at where we were compared to the current strategic plan we had been at the time, that 2023 to 2025 strategic plan, and what we knew we needed to continue working on from that space. But then probably the most important thing we did, and it bears mentioning over and over and over again, was we asked our members what they wanted, right? We asked them in a survey that went out in the fall of 24 how they thought we were doing in the current strategic plan, if they aligned with the work that we were doing, and most importantly, what they felt were the key issues facing the profession today and into the future, and what they wanted to see from us coming out of the strategic plan. The AARC is the voice of the respiratory therapist. We are the organization that really is looking at how to best support them in every aspect of the work that they do, and our patients as well. And so making sure to get that voice, the voice of our members, was the most important step, I think. And we really, truly spent a tremendous amount of time scrutinizing those results and really looking at them and making sure that the member voice was seen and heard in all the spaces, but also in this final project. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that took the time to take that survey. If you can remember taking the survey that long ago, and I hope that you see your voice reflected in that strategic plan. So I think that was probably the most important thing we did. But we did partner with a group that specializes in this work, experts in the development of association strategic plans, the McKinley Advisory Group. And they were, as you know, Dan, exceptional partners in shepherding us.
Great.
Yeah, they really helped guide us through this process to answer the questions that our members were asking in that survey. So once we had the feedback for the survey, the strategic planning committee, which is comprised of members of the board of directors and our past speaker of the House of Delegates, sat down and started to think about, with those McKinley advisors and with our executive director, with you, Dan, we sat down and started to think about, okay, how are we going to get this plan developed and built? And we brought together individuals from the board of directors, the entire board of directors, the House of Delegates officers representing that really important group, members from our publishing arm, Daedalus, so our editors-in-chief and others from the Respiratory Care Journal were with us as we think about the scientific future of who we are. And then we, of course, had our executive office staff, those experts in association leadership, to make sure we were being realistic in what we were doing. And then for the first time ever, this time we brought in the American Respiratory Care Foundation trustees into the space. And you might say, well, those are different organizations. Why did you do that? Well, the reality is the foundation is the group that really recognizes and lifts up researchers and individuals advancing their professional degrees and education, et cetera. So we thought it was very, very important that we be in lockstep and aligned, because so much of the work the foundation does truly does help to advance the mission and the goals of the AARC. So it was great to have them in that space. But we spent a whole day together going through everything that we learned from those member voices and answering questions and really thinking about where do we need to go and what do we want to do. And then our good friends at McKinley put that in a digestible format after a whole couple of days of talking and thinking and putting things together. And then from that, we spent weeks and weeks and weeks with the strategic planning committee and others trying to put that in a digestible format that was then presented to our House of Delegates and our board of directors for review and additional revision and approval. And then that's how you see the final product that was approved last year for all to see and to guide us over the next few years with those very important 4 pillars: engage, elevate, advocate, and educate for our members and profession.
Yeah, and those, I think, really resonated with folks. We carried them over from the previous strategic plan, and I think we sort of went back and forth on that, but they really resonated with folks, so we did bring them over. And they had merit, and I think they still do today.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, very important, right? We recognize those are still so important, and the work is not done.
As a longtime member, let's kind of shift a little bit. I know what a strategic plan is, but maybe from a respiratory therapist standpoint, respiratory therapist to respiratory therapist, you could, in a kind of 20,000 foot way, why does a strategic plan matter to an organization like AARC?
Anyone that wants to achieve anything needs a plan, right? I often tell people goals without a plan are just wishes and dreams. And while I love to wish and dream, we want to see things accomplished. So the strategic plan really is the roadmap and the singular guiding document for all that we do to make sure we don't end up down rabbit holes. And the work that we're doing, again, is very laser focused on that member voice, which is where that strategic plan, again, came from. So we're constantly having conversations. Dan, you and I chat all the time. Is this a strategic plan? Does it make sense? And is this the right thing to do right now for our members? So it really is a roadmap. If I were to equate it to something at the bedside, it's the plan of care, right?
Mhm.
All together on the same page as a team, talking about where we want to go and how we're going to get there. And that's exactly what our strategic plan is.
Yeah, and we always kind of know where we are too.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's a great way for our members to see what we're working on, what's really important, and the progress towards the strategic plan, which is so imperative for folks to be aware of.
Absolutely. And I also think that it keeps us focused because a lot of times great ideas come forth while a plan is in place.
Mhm.
And while we might want to do them, I like to say, we put it in the parking lot while we stay focused on what we're doing and or how does that fit into the plan. The plan keeps us focused on our tasks that we've already set forth.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. It's really about staying laser focused
Yeah,
on those
exactly.
outcomes that we've identified for the strategic plan.
Yep. The new strategic plan puts a lot of emphasis on cultivating and belonging,
Mhm.
really for all members at all levels. As a leader, I know that's really important to you. Can you tell me kind of what that means to you personally?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that question. So, we cannot do what we do without hundreds of volunteers doing the work and pushing it forward and really leveraging their own expertise and time and talent towards helping us achieve our goals. And really, the only way to do that is to make sure that people can come to a space where they feel welcome, right? So,
Hmm.
belonging is exactly that. I is a space where I feel welcome to share my voice and my expertise and a space where I feel that I belong and really can create those connections. In a lot of ways, it's about psychological safety, right? I want you
Hmm.
to feel excited to be here. And it's hard to feel excited to be somewhere if you don't feel that you belong. And then ultimately, you'll not continue to dedicate your time in that space. So that's exactly what it is. It's short and simple. It's just making sure that the spaces our volunteers are in are spaces they can feel comfortable and they feel welcomed and they feel that they belong there because the AARC is for the members. Really, our members belong in every space that this work is
100%.
happening, and we want them to feel welcome in doing that. So we're being
Yep.
very intentional about how we do that.
Yeah. And you've been saying that since I've met you. And interestingly enough, your rise has come from the house. So I think your heart and soul really speaks to that. And I know since you've come into your position, committees have been very important to you. And I know opening that up to folks was also part of your strategy and plan as president. Can you tell me, if our folks, our listeners today, kind of how committees are created and selected?
Yeah. So
Probably like to have an insight on that.
at the heart, committees are formed by the current AARC president and then reviewed and ratified by the board of directors. They have a big voice in that. But as I said, our members are the heart of the work that we do. And yeah, I definitely learned that in the House of Delegates. So many incredible people representing members from all over the country in that space. So I got to meet some of the best people in the whole world in that space. And I love that. And they're incredible people I know, but there are a lot of incredible people I just haven't had the chance to meet yet. And so really thinking about creating that welcoming space and a space for belonging, that's why we do an open call for committees. That's why that was so important to me, to allow folks to raise their hand and say, I want to be in this space. I want to be impactful. I want to participate in moving the profession forward. And that's exactly what our committees do every day, right? We have committees that are put together, really pushing forward key initiatives within the strategic plan, right? Case in point, we have a committee around compact licensure, right? Ron Passwald and Lexi Caraway leading that group in lockstep with our amazing senior VP, Miriam O'Day, pushing that initiative forward. That's part of our strategic plan. And the people on that committee are lifting up and supporting states and getting that work done. Other committees focused on creating grants and recognition awards for individuals trying to market RT programs, right, to get more students into that program. And so we have subject matter experts that sit on those committees who know exactly what it takes to market to get an RT into an RT program, building those grants and funds that I hope people are seeing come out. But the way we do that is through volunteers raising their hand and saying, I really want to be part of this group and part of the future. That's important to me. And I, in some ways, that's me trying to walk the walk in terms of creating a space that's welcoming for everyone. But we know that if we don't have those members in who are doing this every day, guiding this work, we may be going off in the wrong direction. So that it's really nice to see really hundreds of people volunteer to be part of this work and put together teams that we think will be ideally positioned to get us where we need to go.
Absolutely. And I think going back to the strategic plan, that the work of the plan actually comes through the committees. A lot of that work comes through the committees. So there's definitely a rhyme and reason to all of this too.
Yeah, I mean, we achieve our strategic plan because our volunteers do the work and our executive office does a lot of work, right? It's the perfect combination of governance and management, right? Our
Absolutely.
volunteers are putting their respiratory therapists pushing it forward, and our executive office is making sure that everything is operationalized in a way that makes sense. This is the perfect pairing and the way an association should work, right? So,
Correct.
yeah, we cannot move forward without both of those pieces. And we're so
Yep.
very fortunate to have incredible volunteers and outstanding executive office teammates that are passionate about this work.
Couldn't agree more. Let's sort of talk out, like, what is getting involved in a committee? What would that mean for somebody? Like, for instance, somebody's thinking, I would like to get involved in a committee, but I don't know how to do that. What does that mean for me?
Yeah.
Would this mean professional growth? What, do?
I think joining a committee is a way to put your passion into action, right? To really be part of something special in the work that we're doing, right? I am confident those folks that started the work with Compact are dancing in the streets right now because we've hit the number, we're going to lift up the commission. But the same thing, I remember sitting on the APRT committee 10, 15 years ago, and it takes a long time to realize the vision to get those APRTs in that space. But to be on the ground floor of that was an incredible experience. And I tell people all the time that I get as much, if not more, from my volunteering experiences than I give. But it's about learning and growing skill sets around leadership and planning and time management and project management, et cetera, in this volunteer space that actually I use in all other facets of my life and in my job as well. So I think if someone's thinking about joining a committee, they should keep their eyes open for open calls for committees and really think about that. The other thing they can do is talk to another volunteer that serves on a committee. They're also always welcome to reach out to me, and we can talk about what that looks like from a time commitment perspective, because they're all a little different. But I really think at the heart of it, it's about taking a passionate individual and giving them a space to really impact the outcome of the profession. So passion into action.
I agree. And, I've given this some thought, and I think the profile of a committee member could be that of someone who's new and wants to get involved. But also, I think as a seasoned respiratory therapist who may not have been involved before
Mhm.
and they're feeling, like they just want to give something back, great opportunity to do that. As you get a little seasoned, maybe it is time to give something back to the profession and get involved. Or you don't like how things are going, or you love how things are going. Get involved. You can make a difference. It's a place to do that.
I agree. It's all the things. We need experienced individuals who have been volunteering for a while to share their voice. We need experienced RTs who have not raised their hand yet to jump into the ring. And it's really important for us to have young member voices as well that are new to the career and new to the association, because their viewpoint deeply matters as well. So it's all the things. And I love that you called out people that maybe don't agree with where we're going, because the best way to change the direction, if you don't like the way we're going, is to raise your hand and
Come on.
volunteer, right?
Absolutely.
And the more voices we have with different opinions, the better our outcomes will be. So I very much welcome people who disagree with the direction, because it makes us better when we think about those perspectives.
Discourse is how this country was built. It's how
Mm.
organizations stay strong. It's how we function. Is there anything else you want to add as we try to wrap this up?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, if you have not seen the strategic plan, I encourage everyone listening to hop over to AARC.org. If you go to the little About Us section at the top, there's a spot for the strategic plan, and it will show you everything in the strategic plan, as well as the outcomes we're hoping to achieve at the close of the plan in 28 and progress towards each of the tactics and initiatives. So, this is a real time space where there's always cool information being added. So, we could talk about the strategic plan all day, but I would strongly encourage folks to hop over to the website. Always lots of great stuff there, but the strategic plan is there. And then the other thing in the About Us space I would tell you to peek at is the leader and governance page, because that's where you'll learn who's on the board, how to join the board, who's in the house, what does that look like, and there's a full list of all of our committees on that page as well, and what those committees are focused on. So that would be my parting comment is hop onto the website, find out what we're doing, part of it, let us know.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, listen, I want to thank everybody who's tuned in today to this leadership episode of our AARC Perspectives podcast. I want folks to know that we have upcoming topics to include additional leaders on topics like
Mm.
education, advocacy, probably the foundation, our ARCF. And obviously, like Dana said, go to our website. We'll have updates on the strategic plan as they happen. Excuse me. And please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and regularly listen and listen for updates. Thank you all again for tuning in today. We appreciate it.